Hey everyone, welcome back to the Primal Reset podcast, the podcast that uncovers the latest trends, science-backed strategies, and the practices that are shaping our health and wellness industry. Today, we're talking to Shannon Hernandez, a functional medicine practitioner and the founder of Hernandez Holistic Health, who will be sharing her expert knowledge about building a virtual wellness practice, the power of preventative health for young adults, and how she's bridging traditional care with modern digital tools. So grab your coffee. Let's go. Shannon, it's fantastic to have you on the show today. How are you doing?
I'm great. How are you? Thank you for having me.
I'm doing well. I'm doing well. It's a pleasure to have you on the show. I know that you've been an entrepreneur for quite some time now. Tell me a little bit about your story and the journey of getting into the wellness industry.
Okay, well, my name is Shannon Hernandez, and I've been a nurse for over 30 years. And in 2015, I decided to return to school to obtain my family nurse practitioner certificate and jumped right into my own office at that point and have been practicing functional medicine ever since then. I'm in independent practice. I'm the only provider in my office, so sometimes that's a little chaotic, but I love it. So that's kind of my story.
That's awesome. And what kind of got you into the wellness industry in general?
Well, I just feel like traditional medicine is kind of broken. And I feel like a lot of times people are given multiple band-aids, as I call them, or, tons of different prescriptions rather than trying to figure out what is the root cause of their symptoms or what is causing or driving their chronic disease. And I like that challenge. It does take more time to delve into that with patients. And so that's one of the reasons I have my own office is so that I can spend that time with patients. It takes longer than 10 minutes to figure out someone's insulin resistance or why they are having chronic fatigue or whatever. So that's one of the reasons I am in independent practice so that I don't have someone mandating how long I can spend with my patients. And so that's real important to me.
That's awesome. It's something that actually we decided to start this podcast for that reason, trying to give a bit more education and a bit more outreach to people, knowing that there are avenues to change the way the healthcare has been, kind of in the past with the you can only spend 10 minutes or so with a patient and it's kind of as you put it band-aids on what is really happening within someone's body and everyone's different, so seeing all this education out there is great, especially with the new holistic side of things, but to have someone there to walk you through personally what's going on inside your body as opposed to giving a band-aid or just some drug, an experimental drug that's happening in the current place right now is something that I truly enjoy, and that's why I'm glad we got to be able to bring you on here. So you mentioned that you run two companies. One of them is and Roper's Health, and the other one is Hernandez, I believe. Awesome. So what's the difference between the two? Why did you start both of them? I mean, if you want to explain a little deeper, if not, that's okay.
Oh, yes, of
But
course.
what's the difference between the two?
So the first one, Roper's Health Oasis, is my brick and mortar practice, and that's the one I started in 2018. And I built that, and I continue to practice there now. And then last year in August, I got married, so my last name changed. And so when I designed my virtual practice, which is Hernandez Holistic Health, that's why the names are different. They're both me at the core. They just have different names, and one is online, and one is my standing clinic.
Okay, awesome. So one's for the in person if anyone's in the New Mexico area, and the other one is nationwide, worldwide if that's possible as well, for you to be able to give your guidance and your knowledge to them as well.
Right. I just felt like in my practice, to do something with functional medicine, it does take longer and you can't spend an hour and a half with someone in the office. Financially, that's not feasible. And so in my mind, I thought if I could reach out to people and do it as a group where I could instruct and teach people, in small groups, I could benefit more people and reach more people that are not in my local vicinity as well. So
That totally makes sense. How has that journey kind of been for you? Has it been easier doing an online teaching, or would you prefer the in person?
well, so I'm just starting out my virtual practice. I just in October of last year is when I started it. So I'm still in the developmental phases of that. I'm really trying to make sure that my patients get as much benefit out of that as they do in person. So that's been a learning curve for me, as well, to how to deliver the same content virtual setting versus in my office, and try to make sure I have resources that they can access since they're not right here with me. So it's not completely ready yet. It almost is, but there's just been a lot of things that I wanted to make sure were done correctly so that my patients get the most benefit out of it, and in that type of setting, since it's going to be different for me as well.
That's exciting. That's exciting. Yeah, it's definitely a new world with all the online stuff, and you expanding out there is just an exciting time for yourself as well as for everyone else being able to utilize your services if they're not in the New
Yes,
Mexico
I'm
area.
very excited. I think it's going to help a lot of people, and it's growth for me as well, broadening the type of delivery method. And I think the exchange of information among a group of people who are with the same goals, who maybe have the same health conditions, and they can bounce things off of each other, I think it will help them as far as growth and progressing, and seeing that someone else is experiencing their same symptoms and what maybe they can do or what they are doing to help promote themselves. So I think it will just be good, a well-rounded way of helping people promote health instead of treat disease. That's my goal.
It's a great community. It's something that we haven't seen before. I love it. I love to hear it.
Thank you.
When we were talking about medicine and kind of how it was and getting more into the preventative side and functional medicine becoming a bit more popular nowadays, what do you think people often get wrong about it and how can it really help someone?
Well, I think that people have grown accustomed to the traditional medicine guidelines, where if you go in and you claim, talk about this symptom or you talk about this disease, and people take on all of these labels of all these diagnoses, and your mind is a powerful thing. And so when you start thinking, I have diabetes, I have hypertension, I have thyroid disease, I have, you get all these labels and you become this sick person because that's what you are telling yourself. Whereas the opposite is just as important. You can retrain your mind. You can think healthy thoughts. And not everything requires a prescription. I like to think of myself as a de-prescriber. So when people come to me, our goal is going to be to make them healthy at the cellular level. And that's a concept that most people are unfamiliar with. They don't know that it is possible to make yourself healthy on the inside, so that you don't need all those prescriptions. You don't have to be sick. You don't have to feel fatigued and tired and overweight and all that all the time if you go to the root cause. And that's kind of a concept that is adopted by a lot of traditional medicine providers. So that's what makes me different.
That's great. That's great. I mean, it's like I said, it's an exciting time to see all of this kind of unfold. You're one of the people that I've spoken to, one of the only people that I've spoken to that is actively doing this right now and kind of taking that step forward. I know there's a lot of plans in place for a lot of other people as well, but to create that community, globally for preventative side of medicine with mentally, and I know that you work with mentally and as well as with physically and what's happening inside. What would you say is a bigger difference in people's lives? Do you think starting emotionally, as in the mental side of healthcare, or on the physical, the internal side of
Well,
healthcare?
and that's a good question. And I just had a conversation with the patient about that the other day. And I don't think you can put the emphasis on one or the other, because you can't have one healthy without the other. So if you don't focus on both and try to enhance both physiological and emotional well being, like, you're going to be stuck in the middle. So I can do everything I can to make you physically well. But if you're emotionally unstable, you're not going to reach that high point that you could. And the flip side to that is true as well. So that's why I think people have to understand, like, the gut brain connection, the mind body connection. They are one in itself. And so I think that sets me apart as well, because as nurses, we are trained to assess the patient from head to toe. Everything is important, everything has to be included. You can't just pick and choose which systems or sites you want to address. So, and that's the way I treat my patients now. I don't try to put them in systems or be directed, like, in a specialty way of, I only care about your heart or your eyes or your stomach, because I can't do that and make you well holistically.
Okay. Yeah, that's great piece of information there. What if you were to add on to that or expand on it, what would be one simple piece of advice that you'd give to someone that's trying to better take care of their health?
Well, I think the core of everything is nutrition, and people often fail to see that because food is utilized for emotional support and it's utilized just like any other drug is. People get addicted to food and sugar just like any other substance. And it's so important to give your body what it needs so that it can help you and heal you from the inside out. And that's why I focus on nutrition and supplements a lot. That's why I have incorporated the biophotonic scanner in my office so that people can understand how healthy they are at a cellular level. It's one of the only objective methods there are to see how your cells are living on the inside of your body. So we do, blood pressure, we do temperature, you check their pulse oximeter, do their blood glucose. Well, now there is something that is as easy as those methods, and you can test their antioxidant level and their cellular health. And so I've incorporated that for all my patients. So now they know exactly what's going on the inside of their body because, like I said, I'm not a Band-Aid prescriber. And so if they come to me, they know we're going to go to the core, we're going to start in the beginning. And that's part of it, is to know what are we starting with and to present them with methods that are, scientifically backed and proven to help their health excel.
That's great news. I mean, I'm a big believer myself in, well, I've kind of battled with this. So I kind of believe that the foundation of health within my personal self is kind of on the mental side, but also on the nutritional side, kind of the foundations. Why would you come up with the foundation being the nutritional side? I want to hear your opinion.
Because it's extremely important. So if you are eating, which most people following the traditional American diet, have a diet that is high in processed foods, high in carbs, and low in the actual things that give your body actual nutrition. And so in doing that, so just with sugar, let's say, people who have diets high in sugar, well, we reach for sugar because it increases our feel good hormones, increases your serotonin, increases your dopamine. So, in order to get that same high that people get from sugar, you have to have more and more and more. Well, more and more sugar is not good for you. It causes inflammation, and that causes disruptions in your intestines, and that causes disruption in your mood and your chemicals, neurotransmitters that actually affect your mood and emotional stability. So it's like this huge vicious cycle that if you don't figure out that throwing, antidepressants or anti-anxiety medications at it, yeah, that's another band-aid because the issue is still there. You're still eating all this processed food. It's causing all of the issues in the first place. So if you don't teach someone how to eat correctly or teach them that their diet is actually what's feeding the way that they're feeling, they can't fix it. Medication is not going to fix that.
I agree with that. It's definitely, like I said, I battle with the mental side as well as the nutritional side. I mean, hearing your points and hearing a couple of other people speak about the nutritional side as well. When you change your nutrition, and I've seen this firsthand for myself, having a lot of processed foods back in the day. I used to play hockey, and with a nutritionist by my side, kind of changing my diet, I saw an increase in energy. I saw an increase in muscle recovery as well as muscle building. And, I just felt better. A lot of things started to click right after that. And, I was able to do a lot more on the just basing off of the nutritional side, just being able to change that. I mean, when you started Hernandez and Roper's Health, I know Roper's is much newer. What kind of challenges did you face? I know you've been in business since 2018. What kind of challenges have you faced, and how were you able to overcome those obstacles?
Well, so in the beginning, doing my practice and starting Roper's Health Oasis, so traditionally, when people graduate from school, they usually work under someone or with someone for 5 to 7 years. That's what the research says before they step out on their own. But for me, I knew from the beginning that traditional medicine guidelines was just not for me. I wanted to teach people about their health and about nutrition, and to show them that there were other ways to address their chronic illness that were not necessarily just based on protocols. I don't feel like everyone fits inside a box, and I don't feel like everyone benefits from the same treatment plan. And so when you work for a corporation or a company, they pretty much dictate how you practice and how much time you're able to spend with patients and kind of what algorithms you're able to follow and et cetera. And so I decided that that wasn't for me. And it was very difficult when I started to jump in there. I wasn't a business person, I was a nurse. And so to have your own business, you kind of have to take on multiple hats. So, and today still that's difficult because trying to navigate all of those things, but I'm doing it. Just to do functional medicine, in a environment where there's not a lot of other providers who practice that way, sometimes is lonely because you can't just reach out to someone down the hall and say, hey, this is what my patient is doing or saying, or what would you do? Because like there's no one around me that practices the same. So finding like-minded individuals who have the same goals at the end of the day, like I do, has been a challenge, but I've gotten there. And that's what has given me the confidence to step out and try and do the virtual practice as well, because I think it's that beneficial, it's that necessary. People need to understand that there are other ways to address their healthcare. And at the end of the day, they should be able to make informed decisions. And whenever they are only given traditional medicine type of guidelines, I don't feel like that is an informed decision.
I agree. I agree. And would you say that's your big goal that you're working on right now? And I know you've already done it, but for Roper's holistic or Roper's Health Oasis, um, is that your big goal, kind of creating that community with other practitioners or other nutritionists or other, anyone in the space that can kind of help out and help guide with education as well as actually using the same kind of holistic side of medicine?
Yes. And so I do think that us building a bigger community and making sure that people have as many resources from our perspective as they do traditional medicine is extremely important. People are trying, they're spending billions and billions of dollars on supplements. They're trying to get healthy. And the things that they have done to our food supply with all the GMO stuff and, herbicides, pesticides, all of those things, it's difficult. People are trying. And so they need to know that there are options and opportunities out there to help them to get better from the inside out. And so if we don't speak up, if we don't stand up and say, this is available, we stand in the shadows of, big pharma and, stand in the way of those that are going to not make quite as much money if people figure out that what they put in their mouth is what's making them sick. At the end of the day, like some of us do stand on the other side and we do like to lay our head on the pillow knowing that we did the best for our patients in the day. So creating a group that's bigger on that side, I think is important to me.
I agree. I think community is everything. And the more education and the more knowledge that is put out there, and the more resources that are there for everyone is where we can maximize not just financially where you're putting your money where your mouth is essentially, but also health wise. The service world is really what we're all in, and we try to help everyone be their better selves in whatever way that may look like. For some people it's a fitness journey, for some people it's a mental journey, it could be a nutritional journey, it could be a financial journey, whatever it may be, is really what we're kind of looking to help out with. And I agree with the community wise is something that really needs to be there. And with everything happening now, I mean, what kind of future trends do you think that we're gonna see that you're excited about with RFK coming in as the Secretary of Health and the changes that he's already made? I know in Florida we don't have chemtrails nearly as much anymore, but what kind of excites you that's upcoming that you think will happen?
Well, I think it's very, very exciting. And for those of us that have been fighting this battle, this was like a very big win for us to know that there's someone out there who, is focused on nutrition and focused on making sure that things become pure again and that there's not so many additives and preservatives and so much junk in there that are making people sick, making our kids have chronic illnesses that are used to be adult illnesses. And so I think this is a very big step forward. Definitely for those of us who are in the functional medicine side, like this is something we've been screaming and wishing for a long time. So now there's a bigger voice that's helping us to move this forward. So I think it's going to be very exciting.
We never actually know. I think on all fronts, holistically wise, and in every single aspect of trying to create America a bit healthier, I think it's an exciting time, and I'm looking forward to the next couple of years to see what kind of changes that will happen. But to share with everyone your story and your expertise, where can everyone go for Roper's Health Oasis as well as Hernandez Holistic Health?
So they can go to my website, hernandezholistichealth.com, and there is a place on there that does give all the information for my office, the email to reach out to. They can sign up to receive my newsletters and those types of things. And also, it has the phone number to my physical office on there if they want to reach out that method as well.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, I'll link that all in below. So if anyone has any questions for Shannon or would like to reach out and use some of her services or gain some of that knowledge that she already has, reach out down below, click on the link, whether it's Roper's Health Oasis and you're not in the New Mexico area, or go visit her at Hernandez Holistic Health. I appreciate it, Shannon. Thank you so much for hopping on the podcast. Hopefully we'll get to do another one soon.